Ready to light that fire by doing the things that make you come alive? Welcome to Health Raisers, a podcast for wise women. I'm your host, Dr. Nadine. I left a soul-crushing medical career full of bad news and evolved into a joyful health integration coach, helping hundreds of women find their healthy. You're more than your dress size. Stop putting up with toxic relationships, swallowing your true emotions, and sacrificing your mental health. Stop using your body as a battlefield. You're always giving. You deserve to put yourself first, not just for your sake, but for those you love. Wise women, let's make ourselves a priority right now. It's time to raise some health together. Hello, wise women. Today, my friend Michael Feeley returns to the podcast. Michael, if you recall, is a Renaissance man. His journey began in New York City as an actor. It became headhunter, then globally sought after career coach. Michael is the embodiment of the transformative principles that he shares in his book, which is our discussion topic today. It's called The Next Act. Michael writes from his magical Caribbean island home, and he helps others discover meaningful work and reinvention. He proves that, like fine wine, we truly can get better with age. Thank you for being here, Michael.
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you, Nadine, for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here and really, really happy for our friendship, our past, our present. Thank you so much. It's a great honor.
I'd like to begin by asking you what led you to write The Next Act. I mean, I know it's a labor of love, but I want the audience to experience what the inspiration was.
Sure. Yeah. Well, for a very long time, I had been blogging. And I think it was back when I took the creative workshop in 2020, where Seth Godin had suggested that people write daily and publish daily. And I thought, this is just what I'm looking to do. So for the past 5 years, I have written and published every single day on my website, on LinkedIn, other places, nothing's stopping me. And it was a great experience because I was able to say what I thought and what I felt and to share it with other people, coaching, life coaching, career coaching, ideas about how to make your life better. And then it kept coming to me that I really wanted to write a book, and I wasn't just sure what it was about. And the reason I wrote it is because I felt I had something important to say to people's lives, and especially people in the field of reinvention, jobs, because for over 20 years, I worked in New York City as a headhunter, finding people jobs, which is emotional for me because that's a great thing to do, is to find somebody a job so that they can have a living and feel expressed, pay their bills, do whatever they need to make money. So that was really important to me. And it certainly was challenging. And when I wrote this book, originally it was going to be a memoir. And I went down the genre of memoir. And then I knew I needed an editor because I'm not good. I had 250 pages. And I thought, how the heck do I edit this? So I found myself a wonderful person. Her name is Anne Shabani, and she's the publisher of a book publishing company called Summit Press Publishers. And I, negotiated with her and sent her my draft, over 250 pages. And she wrote back and sent me 20 pages of the most beautiful criticism, telling me what was good, what worked, what didn't. And she even questioned, she said, I'm not sure memoir is the direction you want to go. There's other genres. And she named them, such as self-help, prescriptive nonfiction, inspirational books. And I saw myself more as an inspirational writer where I could use my life and use my past. And she had come up out of these 20 pages that she sent me. She said, I think your book could be about this. All your skills are transferable. And I went, wow, that's really true. In the 20 years or more that I worked in headhunting and interviewing people and getting them jobs, people would come to me and say, you know, Michael, I can only work in finance. I've been there for 10 years and I really want to work in publishing, but I don't have the skills. How am I going to do this? And I would say, you have the skills.
Mm-hmm.
Your skills can transfer anyplace else. You just have to change your mindset about where you're going. So I said to Anne, my editor, I said, now you want me to write a whole new book? And she said, yeah, and we'll use some of the other stuff. So that's what led me there, because of my experience and my desire to, one, help people to feel secure in their work. And then two, at a time of life when people are getting or maturing, very often they're challenged at work. People think it's time to retire. It's time to move on. You're not as alert. You're slowing down. And that's not the truth. And certainly if a person wants to retire, wants to spend time with family, maybe travel, have a project, that's perfectly okay. But there's a lot of other people out there, 50, 60, 70, even into their 80s, who are not ready to quit, who have new goals and new plans and dreams to fulfill. And me, I'm 73 and I'm still going. That's part of the reason I wrote this book. It was something I had dreamed about, and now another dream has come true for me. So I've written it so that I can help people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond make sure that they're still feeling useful and that they're still a sage, they're still wise, they're vintage, getting better with time, as you said, and not feeling that you're done. Because society, the status quo says, oh, you reached a certain age, time for Social Security, time to get your pension, time to move on. And you go, I'm not ready. And there's a lot happening in the world today regarding jobs. It's not all just good either. And then the other aspect is that I think there's a lot of people out there, and companies are starting to realize that let's hold on to the mature workers. They are people who have a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills, and we can bring in younger people and they could mentor. They can work together. You can learn from somebody younger who may be more adept at IT or all kinds of computer skills, and yet at the same time, you have skills, abilities, life experience. You're expert at many things. So that's why I wrote the book, was to express myself, to show my authority, and that's what I do as a career and life coach is help people.
Bringing you Health Raisers is possible because of these incredible sponsors. Feeling the need for a little pampering? Do you want an escape from the hustle and bustle of daily life? Mac Salon and Day Spa is your destination for relaxation and rejuvenation in Southwest Michigan. Get ready for a retreat in the woods. Mac offers comprehensive services tailored to your needs, including massage, facials, nails, waxing, and hair treatments, ensuring you feel refreshed and beautiful. Whether you're preparing for a special occasion or simply treating yourself, the experts at MAC are committed to helping you look and feel your best. Their commitment to wellness isn't just about beauty. It's about balance, confidence, and feeling amazing in your skin. Visit them today and discover why they're Southwest Michigan's premier choice for all your beauty needs. Looking for some time away from the chaos of everyday life? Step into the beauty of Fernwood Botanical Garden, where nature, peace, and renewal come together. Nestled along the scenic St. Joseph River Valley, in between Niles and Buchanan, Fernwood's 105 acres of lush gardens, quiet trails, and serene woodlands offer a sanctuary for replenishing your soul. Wander through vibrant landscapes, listen to the melodies of birds, and connect with nature at your own pace. Indoors, you'll find an inspiring art gallery, a lush fern conservatory, and a welcoming cafe, perfect for reflection and relaxation. At Fernwood, there's always something to discover, from engaging classes and special events to charming, verdant venues for your own gatherings. It's more than a destination, it's a feeling, a place to breathe, learn, and grow. Plan your visit today. Explore, discover, connect. In the mood for coffee, tea, yummy pastries, or cool swag? My friends at Infusco have got you covered. Infusco Coffee Roasters is a cozy neighborhood coffee joint in Sawyer and St. Joseph, Michigan. Infusco stands for a healthy community. They craft irresistible seasonal drinks, sourcing local artisans' products. The flavors shine from quality ingredients, and their beans are roasted on site. They do not hide behind tons of sugar. Every time I go, I'm greeted by my name with a smile. Bad service is just non-existent. It feels like stepping into a friend's living room. They keep it personal. Old school eclectic coffee mugs on the wall, fun merch including stickers designed by artists, t-shirts, and sweatshirts. It's the perfect place to get to know your neighbors and chat with tourists. You will always find people deep in conversation. Special events keep it fresh. Community, health, the heart of Sawyer. That's Infusco. I hope to meet you there. It's going to be easy to segue into this next question. Essentially, you've set us up very well with the messages that we get from society that we're less valuable as we age, essentially.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, how does finding meaningful work in our later years directly counter this narrative and boost our overall well-being?
That's a great question, Nadine. I think we have to get to the basics of what do you really want? What do you want to do? I mean, if you're in a job that you presently like and you feel expressed, great, keep going. But often a person may be released from a company, they may have been let go, and they don't always know what they want to do. So I think the important thing in career coaching is to sit down and say, what do you want now? And let's put age aside. What is it that you're looking to do? Are there certain skills or dreams that you have? And let's focus on that. And if you come up with what you want to do, and that's not an easy question to answer. It's not easy to say, oh yeah, I'd like to open my own business. Well, what kind of business? Why do you want to open it? And we'll keep continuing down the lane of why, until we get to exactly what you want. Mm-hmm. Like for yourself, Nadine, you decided you wanted to create a podcast. For what reason? For who? For what reason? And you're doing great at it. So you're happy doing that. So we go from why are you doing this? Who's it for? What's it for? How are you going to be expressed? Is this what you want to do with the rest of your life? And that's where I'm really heading, is to try and find out, who am I and what do I want and why do I want it? And then the last question is, once we get there to ground, solid ground, we're going to create an achievable plan, one that's going to work day by day, hour by hour, to get you exactly to that point of what you want to do.
And when we reach that point of what we want to do, how do you think it makes us feel? How do you think that benefits us physically or emotionally or mentally, intellectually, and spiritually, any of those ways?
Yeah, I think it gets right to your center. You will know when you really say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a gardener. I'm going to teach tap dancing, whatever it is. You get there and you feel like that's what I want to do. And why do I want to do it? Maybe to be expressed, maybe to help other people be expressed in any way that you possibly can. And then to get to the plan and say, okay, what's it going to cost to get me there? Well, how much time, how much money, where can I begin? How can I get to where I'm going? Like in my own life, I was a headhunter for over 20 years. I was with one company for 13. Then it went out of business and I was out of a job and I was panicking. I remember I was 58 years old and I thought, where am I going to go at 58? I just couldn't imagine. And a friend of mine took me out for a cup of coffee at Starbucks, those famous places where you do good talking. And she suggested I look into life coaching. I didn't know what that was about, but she knew if I was going to do research, I would look at every university and every program. And it made sense for me to go back to school to reinvent myself through a coaching program. And I found one I really liked, to use all my skills that I had had for 20 years, finding people jobs, to become a career coach and a life coach to coach people into their next step or their next act, so to speak. And the thing is, again, I'll return to answer your question. You know when you discover what you want to do. And I'll give you a tip. Some of the things that would happen, during interviews and when I was a headhunter, I would say to a person, I hope this doesn't happen to you, but if you lost your job tomorrow, what would you do? And I'm guaranteeing 90% of the time, a person had an answer right off the bat. I'd travel, I'd write a book, I'd go find true love. I would open a tap dancing and ballroom dancing studio. This is what I would do. People had an answer. So then I would ask, so what stops you from doing what you really want to do? My philosophy is, why delay it? We get one life, Nadine. There are no reruns. You can't return your life and say, this didn't work for me, so give me a new life. So why not try and live your best life, live your dreams, actually work at what you're doing? Did I love recruiting? Yes, I loved that. It was just great. When it ended, I knew I didn't want to stay in corporate America. And then I knew that I had to go somewhere else. And when I started to study to be a life coach, things came together in so many different ways.
So specifically, tell us about what that felt like. Where did you feel it in your body? What did it really feel like?
Yeah, what it felt like, it was natural for me because one of the things I wanted to work for myself. I was tired of working for other companies where people told me what to do and judged me on my numbers, and certainly I made good livings and I did that. But I wanted my blood, sweat, and tears to be in my business, to work at my pace, and to have it be my way. Exactly. That's what I was hoping for. Did it feel good? Yes. I mean, I was learning techniques and skills about coaching from master coaches. The program I was involved with was called IPEC, Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. It was about an 8-month program. It was like getting a master's, but I learned how to coach. And I learned that all the other skills that I had from acting, from headhunting, all of those things fit together. They were all useful. And I knew I was expressing myself so that when I sat in front of somebody and I asked them, so what is the thing you most want of your life? What change are you looking for? And they had an answer. I could put myself in their shoes. I could ask questions. I could start to have empathy for them and try and see, how do they think? How does Nadine think? How does she work? What does she want? Is this achievable? Are we going in the right direction? And if not, we're going to find out something else. It's all about, coaching is about questioning, and the answers are in you. And my job as a coach is to help you get to the answers that are in you. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily intuitive. You think of the interviewing and looking for a job process to be more mechanical, a little bit more sterile, more outside of yourself, external. But your book really highlights the need for taking time for proper self-reflection before jumping into the job application process. Can you speak a little bit more about why that's so important?
Sure. I think it's really crucial. Some people feel like, I'm unhappy at my job, I'm just going to quit, I'll find something else. I'm not for that. My feeling is, keep your job. If you hate your job, you're still making money, because down the road in 3 or 6 months, if you have to pay your mortgage or something else, you still have money coming in. It can't be that, terrible. It just can't be, and there's ways of changing how you see it at work. But the most crucial thing is really to feel like, I'm in charge. I'm the person who's in control here. I can make myself happy. I can change things. I can work. I can get a better job. And then to really say, what would it mean to get something different? I mean, maybe you're presently working in a company now and you're unhappy with the company, but you want to do the same thing, and maybe you want to go to another company. You want to go someplace else with new people, a new location, but you still want to do the same thing because you're really good at it. That's a little bit different than reinventing yourself completely, where you would say, I want a new career. Instead of being a headhunter, maybe I'd be a life coach. Maybe I want to design websites. Maybe I want to open a customer service job of some kind, because I'm really good at that. And what we do, the Next Act says, is really, what are the skills that really turn you on? Where are you an expert? What level are you at this particular skill?
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about skills and we talk about core values. Skills are like organization, typing, IT, arithmetic, architecture, singing, acting, whatever your skills are. Then there are values that you also have in your life, core values such as honesty, truth, trust, gratitude, how you treat another human being.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all things that you have to make your mind up and learn about and say, this is what I want in my next position. This is where I have it now, and this is where I don't have it, and I'm missing it. And if we look back and say, okay, if you're in a job and you're not ready to write a resume and go out on interviews, how can I refresh my job? How could I reinvent myself here in this present company? What change could I make with my fellow colleagues, with my boss? Okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to make a plan to reinvent myself, to get promoted in this company and to move on.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's a lot more thoughtful and it's more responsive rather than reactive.
Yes, exactly. And that's where I think you get to sit, as you were saying, how do I reflect on myself? How can I best feel like this is what I want at this time? These are my needs. And I also want to encourage people, and I do in the book, it's not something that you're alone in. There's a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. You can count on other people. You can also create, a buddy system or an accountability group of one or two people and say, I'm going to look for a new job and I need your help and I want you to hold me accountable. This is how I'm going to go about it. What do you think? What am I really good at? I'm really at a loss. You don't have to do it alone. Mm-hmm. Get yourself community, because that will help you understand. And community could be your husband. It could be your wife. It could be your family. It could be another friend. And friends are very useful. So I'm also encouraging you, get someone who's going to be really tough and go, hey, Nadine, that's not realistic. You need to make money. So let's talk about it. But then a person might say to you, you know what you're really good at, Nadine? This is what I see you as being really good at in your podcast. You ask key questions. I love that. Why won't you create a blog where you write about this goes on in my podcast? This is what I learned from women and from men. And it's really about tuning into what you want. What are your skills? What's your attitude? Can I achieve this? And I always think you can. I think you can create opportunities, and I think you can go after asking for what you want, including that famous phrase, I need your help. I mean, what person doesn't respond to, I need your help? Somebody's driving down the street, they roll down the window, they go, where's the Marriott Hotel? I need your help. Somebody else says, I need your help. My computer's not working. I rise to that. I think a lot of people do. They want to be useful. They want to help people in their careers.
Okay, so how about some hidden talents or surprising skills? Maybe something someone would take for granted or not think is valuable enough. What are some examples of those types of skills that people may not realize are incredibly transferable to a new career?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think, part of one of the things that I used to do was place personal assistants working for high-end people, CEOs. You're on call 24 hours a day, so forth. I think if you are a person who is a great organizer, a lot of people don't think of the fact that, okay, I'm sitting here right now. I can manage my boss's homes. He has 3 homes around the world. I can get him a jet plane. I can make dinner tonight. I'm also writing my master's thesis to get my master's in education. And they just take it for granted that they know how to organize something. Someone calls them and they go, no problem, I got this. And in 2 minutes, they've solved it. I said, got it. I got you on a train. I got you on a plane. Organization, the obvious things I think we have to look at. There's organization. There's a great skill for customer service. How are you with people? If on the phone, somebody says, I have a problem. Do you rise to it? You go, okay, I'm going to solve this problem. I'm not going to leave you until you solve. A lot of people don't think that customer service is a valuable skill. And it is. I think with the internet today, a lot of people don't communicate as well as they could. But the skill to actually talk to another human being, to solve their problem, to get a result is really, really crucial. And what I think a person do is go back and think about creating the resume of your life. What were the things you did as a kid that you were really good at? And are those still skills that you use today? We could take it for granted. Like, I was really good at shoveling snow. I mean, I didn't just like dig a little path. I dug like a major driveway. I dug to the garage. I dug out the end. That was just who I am. And then in the summer, I would mow lawns and I would trim around the trees and I would pull out weeds and do that. But that was who I was. And that's how I thought the job was and what it was about.
So detail oriented.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't think, oh, I'm detail oriented or commitment. Once I commit to something, I'm going to go through. Guaranteed, I'm going to show up every day at 9 to 5 and then some. That's who I am. Those are major skills that other people thrive on. Companies are looking for that. They can be called soft skills. I like to call them human skills.
Okay.
What are your human skills here? Connection. Listening is a huge skill. Who sits and listens for a long time and then says, I hear you. I see what you're saying. I understand. Thank you for bringing this up. A lot of people don't think that's it. And then there's basic, just asking the right questions, having a person feel like, I respect you. I don't know what we're going to figure out something to do for you, but at least I have the ability to respect you. If I can't get an answer, I'm going to keep trying. And if we can't, we can't. Maybe there's something else to do somewhere else.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying as to what these skills are. And it's right down to, okay, if you can type 100 words a minute, that's great. Maybe you can do something else too, you know?
What about limiting beliefs? Because you spend a lot of time in the book talking about that. What's the most common 1, 2, or 3 limiting beliefs you see in mature adults? And how do you think shifting that perspective becomes an act of self-care, or I dare say love?
Sure, that's good. Yeah, I think it's about you all of a sudden have to listen to yourself and think, why am I limiting it? It could be, the fact that your inner voice, your inner critic, what I call your inner bully, is saying, you can't do that. You're too old at this point. You can't, they aren't looking for that. No, I can't do this. Well, you have to look at it and say, why would I want to limit myself? Let's unlimit. How can I improve on this? How can I get to something better in the job that I'm doing? Maybe, the company all of a sudden is saying, I want everybody to use Slack and communicate through this computer system called Slack. And if you don't know it, you need to find out. And maybe there's somebody in your office who can help you. And instead of having this limiting, freezing, fearful thing of, I can't do it, open yourself up and find somebody else who can. Go online. There's so much information on YouTube about what is Slack. How do I prepare it? Play with it. This is what I'm encouraging you is to see, how do I limit myself and why? Where did I get this belief from that I can't do it? And once you look at it, you can often shift it. You can often move ahead. Like, I never liked cold calling, and we were told, in outside sales, you have to do 100 calls a day. I was like, okay, how am I going to make this work for me? How am I going to change my mindset and move it from having to make a call to doing something else? And so what I would do is I would go out, knock on someone's door. I'd start at the top of a building, start going down, knock at a door and go, hi, I'm Michael from such and such company. I'd like to talk to your human resource director. Well, she's not available. I said, could I write her a little note? And I would write a note saying, hi, I stopped by to introduce you. I'll call you later in the week. And then the next day I'd get on the phone and go, hi, did you get my letter? And they go, yes, I got it. And I said, well, I'd like to set up a time to come in and talk to you about my services. So I was trying to break through the limitations of cold calling. I was trying to break through the gatekeepers and not limit myself, but be creative and create opportunities that went beyond anyone or anything that seemed to say, you can't do this. You shouldn't do this. What stops a person from, delivering a resume. These days you have to send a resume through a porthole. You have to answer all these AI questions. And then they often say, I'm sorry, we're not interested. What stops you from resending it 2 or 3 times? What stops you from being creative and saying, I'm going to hand deliver this or mail the resume or even make a video saying, I am right for this job. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you a project that I did and why you should interview me, and let me go ahead and come in and meet with you. Why not? Why limit yourself by what the status quo says, what the company says? Break out of the limitation, become unlimited, become new, become, I don't know, I guess a gangbuster in a sense. All that someone can say to you is, no, we're still not interested.
So this is turning thoughts that are harming the self, acts of self-harm, lack of compassion, by talking to yourself in a certain way, by buying certain limiting beliefs. You're talking about flipping that, turning it on its head internally to say, I will no longer accept this. I am worth more. I mean more. I want more. Transferring that into an act of self-love and self-care.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can also feel it. Maybe the limitations are real. Maybe you're applying for a job to speak, and I mentioned in the book, Castilian Spanish, and maybe you're fluent in it, but they also want you to be able to write it, and they also want, to be able to communicate or whatever, and in whatever capacity is possible. And yet you are limited because your writing is not what they're looking for. But to flip it means, okay, maybe you need 6 weeks to get yourself back into the proper situation of being able to write Castilian Spanish. Go take a course. Maybe the company would say, all right, we're going to give you six weeks to improve it, and then we're going to go from there. Take every opportunity to create an opportunity, a plus, and don't just say, oh, okay, the door is shut. I'm limited. I'm a person who doesn't like to take no necessarily, and I will ask and keep asking and going towards what I really want until I get it. And it doesn't mean you can't be respectful. It doesn't mean that you can't have dignity. You can't be grateful. You need to be professional, even when you start asking for something, and then people will really listen to you. And I know of people who were turned down by jobs, sent their resume 3 times, 4 times, finally got an interview, and they were hired. They didn't stop at one person saying no.
Okay, so what about a person who is limited? They're not like you. They're not a person who will doesn't see no as a closed door. What about a person that looks at that closed door because they're scared and they don't know how to deal with rejection? What would you say to a person like that?
Well, I think we have to sit and sort of talk to the person and say, why do you feel you let the door be shut? What would be your next step? And then to even go deeper and say, well, maybe this is the wrong direction for you. Maybe you are looking at something that is not right for you. Maybe you are an introvert. Maybe you don't want to be at the front. Maybe you want to be behind the scenes. Let's find out what we can do to have where you are now prosper so that you can feel, I'm going after what I need at this time, and I need this kind of success. And it can be successful for me in this way if I do this and this and this. So we set up a plan. And again, sometimes a person doesn't know and can't help themselves. It's like driving a car. You have to hire somebody to teach you how to drive a car. Sooner or later, somebody has to, so you can pass your test. There's nothing wrong with hiring a coach or getting a mentor, with somebody saying, this is what I'm really stuck at, and I want to know, how can I change this? How can I learn to take more risks? And we're going to study, and you study, what happens to you when you get to the door and all of a sudden you feel, no, I can't go further. Why can't you try? And then we'll ask another question. Where have you succeeded? Let's focus on where you did have a good experience. And then we'll find out, and let's reciprocate and make that happen again for you.
Let's talk about gratitude, because you dedicate a lot of time in the book to practice of gratitude, specifically practicing that. And how does practicing gratitude help older adults navigate career changes so that they can support their emotional health?
Yeah, I think gratitude is really essential. It's the feeling that this is what I have. I appreciate this. I'm thankful for it. I like it. I am grateful that I have a job, even though it might be a miserable job. I'm grateful I have a resume. I'm grateful that I can go on an interview. I think you have to look at every moment and say, where is the gratitude in this? Even if you're turned down at a job, you can in a moment say, what am I grateful for? Okay, I got in here. They wanted to see me. I was in, I gave a good interview. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have given this interview. Maybe there's something else that I can do in the future. I'm grateful that the door isn't closed. I'm grateful I have a connection with Nadine Kelly and I can send her a follow-up letter in 2 weeks and say, if there's another position open, please let me know. I'd be interested in still working for your company. Gratitude makes you more positive, more powerful rather than I failed. It was a crummy interview. Look at this. I'm not good enough. I'm just not. There's two different things there all the time. And we can be grateful if we didn't get the job. I know that sounds crazy, but I always felt in the theater, and I also felt when I was sitting in front of a big business trying to gather their business, a big CEO or corporation, and maybe I didn't get it. I went, okay, you got this far. You achieved this. Now let's see what else. It's not just a closed door. Like I'll give you another example. For my new book, I was contacting people to write an endorsement. And there's many people that I have admired for years. So I would write them a letter. I would search for their emails or something or get to their personal assistant. And sometimes the person would come back and would say, I'm sorry, but so-and-so is really busy at this time with a podcast or other things. They wish you well in terms of your book. Thank you very much. Some people might say, oh, that's terrible. I lost out. I felt, what a great opportunity. I have a connection. I met the personal assistant. So-and-so said she couldn't do this. There's nothing to stop me trying in another 3 or 4 weeks when the book is published. It's an opportunity to be grateful, to look for something positive that will enhance you and feel like I took the risk. They said no, but it wasn't mean. It just didn't happen, you know? And you can flip.
Another great way to flip rejection.
Exactly. And what's really being rejected, Nadine? That's something I address in the book. Is it you that is really being rejected? Or is it maybe your work or what you're doing at that moment that they're saying that's not right for me? It doesn't mean you're not an intelligent person. It doesn't mean you don't have the right skills. It's just that what you did today and what you presented today isn't right for them.
Okay.
They're looking for somebody else. So don't beat yourself up. Don't say, I'm just no good. You can just say, okay, I wasn't right for that particular spot. And me as a go-getter, I would probably say, let me ask you a question. You're saying no. Why don't you tempt me for 2 weeks, throw me into the pit with all of your team members and see how I land? Why not just take it? And if I'm not right, I get it. You'll never hear from me again. Why not take the risk instead of saying, thank you, I'm out the door? Come up with a plan A, B, C, all the way down to X, Y, Z. If they don't hire me now, let me find out what else is the scarcity in their company. What else do they need? Suppose you have been studying a company and you all have realized, there's a big hole over here. There's a gap and they need someone to fill their customer service response. I'm going to tell them this during the interview. I said, I've watched your company and I have a suggestion about how you could improve. And one of them has to do with the way you see customer service. Now, I may not get the job, but I'm telling you what I feel. I don't think you should have a recording answering saying your call is important to me. Everybody's going to hang up. What stops you from having a real person answer the phone? What stops from being internal with all of your workers where it's a rotation? The phone rings, they pick up and they go, hi, you've reached Michael Feeley Incorporated. How can we help you? And why not make a suggestion when you feel that there is an opening? I know people who have gotten jobs because they were creative and the person said, I like what you're saying. I want you to meet somebody else and talk about this.
I've been really struck as we've been talking, and of course, during the course of our friendship too, you talk about what shapes a person. And one of the things that really strikes me with you is, you talk about it in the book too, early life, being bullied for being gay. And what I found most remarkable in that, because it's not an uncommon tale, but even at that young age, you said to yourself, I'm not going to look at myself like a victim in this scenario. I
Yeah.
refuse to be a victim. And that has been carrying through everything you've been saying today, how you wrote the book, the message in the book. It's really about not being the victim, taking responsibility for yourself, and really taking good care, being your own steward by having the right mindset, being mentally flexible, being agile, being a bit of a risk taker, but absolutely knowing what's right and what's not right for you. Again, all taking responsibility and not being a victim.
Right, right. And that's a choice. And that's the thing we're talking about here. One of our greatest gifts, Nadine, is the gift of choice. We can make a choice at any moment to go in another direction, to be something other than what we presently are. And if we're sitting around, we're getting bullied, we can either be beat down and be a victim and say, okay, woe is me, or we can fight back. And sometimes fighting back means backing off and not causing trouble. You know, I didn't cause trouble when I was bullied by people. I had a big fear about being hurt physically, emotionally, scarred, really beat up from where I. So I didn't go after it, but I stood back and I thought, okay, one thing I'm learning from this is I'm never going to bully another human being my entire life. I never did. That's the choice I made. Two, I'm not a victim. There's other directions that I can go in. When I get out of high school, I'm not going to be bullied ever again. I also looked at the fact that where did I succeed in the midst of bullying? I was really good at singing and acting and art. I was really good at that. And I was well respected in the school and throughout the state, for singing and all of that type of thing. So I had things that I could balance off and say, these guys are terrible to me during the day over here, but when I get on stage and I get into the chorus and I get to the art studio, I'm thriving. These are the things that benefit my life. This is what makes me who I am. I'm not going to be a victim to anybody. No, thank you. And as I look back in the years, maybe I could have been stronger and made other choices, but I was like, no, I'm not going to. My home life wasn't always good. My dear dad, he unfortunately was an alcoholic. It was a challenging thing to live through. But I decided early, I'm not going to live like this ever. And I'm always going to make my happiness, and I'm going to go after getting the life I want, no matter what it was. And then I figured out, what do you want? What is your life going to be like? Where are you going? You can get out of this situation. You are not stuck here. Not stuck at all. So it's a mind shift. It's a heart shift. And the biggest thing is making a choice and sticking to it. Is it challenging? You bet it is. It is not easy to be pummeled every day by somebody, and yet at the same time, you can learn from it. And you can tell two stories in the book. I mentioned I tell two stories. You say, woe is me. I was bullied all my life. My stomach was in a knot. It was just horrible. That's one way you can tell them and be unfortunate and be a victim. The other way is, if I feel grateful that I was bullied. I know it seems strange to say it, but it made me feel kinder to other people and made me feel I never want to harm another human being in any way. And what are the advantages that I learned from this? There were other people who helped back me, teachers who were supportive. There's my gratitude again to them. I wasn't always alone. So that, I hope, answers the question, because you can, again, we're talking choice. We're talking a mindset. It's not easy to do, but it's a way of saying, no, I will not tolerate it. And that goes on to work also. You're being bullied at work. There's no way you have to be disrespected. Go to your manager, go to human resources, change jobs within the company. There are ways to get away from this so that you can feel my life is good. I'm happy. And you should be happy at what you do.
What about if you have subscribed to a particular set of beliefs? Your thought patterns are well worn. They're so well worn that they're habitual. As we age, this happens, and you may not necessarily realize, you may not necessarily be aware of those maladaptive ways of thinking, or that this thing that you inherited might still might not be right for you anymore. If you're used to these patterns and comfortable with them, it's like the devil, right? Um, how does one break out of those, especially when society is reinforcing your messaging to yourself? I'll give you a little example. I had a class this week in the pool, and I start always by asking everyone, how are you doing today? Is there anything you feel like you want to focus on? And it doesn't have to be particular body parts. It can be that, but could it be a way of feeling? Could it be energy wise? Is there something you want, or a theme? We want it to be balanced or opening up our lung, our side body a little bit more today. What do you want today? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's crickets. Okay. But I've learned to be patient, and I wait. And finally, one lovely woman timidly raises her hand and says, losing weight, getting rid of this particular body fat. And my heart just fell, because it's this narrative for us as women, especially. Mm-hmm. There's so many layers to it. You have to look a certain way. Mm-hmm. It has to look like this. It can't change with time. Well, there's no grace for or room for, you've been in this body for 50, 60, 70 years. It can't possibly look like a 20, 30-year-old you. So we're comparing. And with social media, and all of the visual stimulation that we have, even outside of social media, you can't go anywhere. Like, you can't even pump gas without some advertisement being there. It's like, can't I just have 5 seconds of quiet? So we're being inundated with messages. Yeah. So how does one who is becoming more vintage dig herself up out of all of the external and internal noise?
I think one of the things you can do is, if you have some kind of a question and it's against you, or you feel like this is really stopping me, let's figure out what can give you some peace of mind. What is going to give you some feeling that your heart and you are a good person? Let's get to that right now, right off the top of your head. What's going to give you peace of mind? If your body looks a certain way and the person says losing weight, okay, so what's going to give you some peace of mind in this moment? The fact that you raised your hand and you said something, how brave and courageous was that? And how much peace of mind does it give you that at least you opened yourself up to people in the pool and said, this troubles me. Mm-hmm. 1, you're not alone anymore. 2, there's other people who probably feel the same thing. And you're 100% correct. We live in a society that says you have to look a certain way. You have to dress a certain way to be successful. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But this person had a need, Nadine, and it's up to us or anybody listening to say, okay, congratulations. That's a big, courageous step. Step number 2, how can we solve that starting today? What would you do that would change it? The person has some kind of answer. I shouldn't eat cheese. I shouldn't eat after 6 o'clock. I should walk every day for 20 minutes. Great. Don't do it by who else in your neighborhood can you walk with? Let's get a plan going so that you can feel better about you. There's a solution. There's an answer. Something that will make you feel impelled to feel you respect yourself. You're going forward. And so often people are just, they don't acknowledge it.
Well, it's to that point, this particular woman had failed. And she told me this 2 days later, because she thought about, I got on a soapbox. I couldn't help it. I was talking to them and myself, about not internalizing these messages and being graceful and showing yourself self-compassion, being willing to accept change and who you are, and also recognizing what's successful. My body can still do this. I might not look like my 30-year-old self, but I tell you what, and I'm speaking about myself right now, my personal trainer says, I train a lot of people. Not a lot of women your age can bench press what you're bench pressing. Not a lot. Great. So, recognizing those successes. And in her case, 2 days later, when we came back to class, she thanked me for, we were able to have this beautiful conversation amongst the circle of women. And she said, I lost 70 something pounds. And I'm still thinking, I need to continue on that. I need to lose this much more. And it's like not sitting with the success of and looking at, that's wonderful. I did that and I'm okay now, because there's never an end point with that style of thinking. Right. You keep going, I'm on this track. I keep needing to. It's not enough. I'm not enough. When are you going to be enough? If you don't uncover that, that's the root cause of what's causing you, in other words, it was a symptom. And so it was a good opportunity for her to look at, it's not about the weight itself. That's not what's really going on here.
Yeah. And you're really right about it. And also for the fact that you said she had lost 70 pounds, there was an opportunity to be grateful to herself and say, look how far you've come. Yeah. Do you see that? All of a sudden you put it aside because you hadn't achieved what you thought you wanted to achieve or what society was telling you achieved. Maybe you didn't get the promotion at work. Okay, well, what have you done that other people think is amazing? What have you done in the past? What awards did you do? What project did you create that helped other people live better lives? Okay, we don't necessarily need a title, but we also have to take care of ourselves and be kind to ourselves and say, this is my value. These are my skills. This is what I've done that I'm proud of. And that happens in interviews. Okay, so tell me, what project did you work on that you feel made a big impact on other people's lives? You've got to honor it. You've got to be grateful for it. You've got to have it right there and recognize it. That's what you're saying too, Nadine, because all of a sudden we're like, oh, I'm still not good enough. Not good enough. And that beats us down. Society says it. It's also that fear that we leap to, resistance saying, you will never be good enough. So no matter what you have, if you looked like a model, you would still find something wrong with yourself.
Absolutely.
So I think it's all about, you have to acknowledge yourself. I still want to improve, but this is where I've done good work and I'm proud of myself. I'm grateful for this. Yes, there's more to be given, but this is who I am right now. And this is how far I've come. And I can be happy and grateful for that.
As we're wrapping up, I was excited to ask you about specifics, any stories, anecdotes. Can you share a story of someone over 65, over 70, who created a job from thin air?
That's a great question. Oh my gosh, I can only think of myself, actually. There are other people. Yeah, there was a woman that I worked with many years ago, and her name was Genevieve. She's in the book. And she was a mature lady, and she came in, she was a little nervous, and a client had recommended me to her. She had the skill. She knew how to do Grigg Pittman shorthand. And it's a skill that you learn. It's a dinosaur almost. And it's a shorthand thing, symbols and everything. And it was used when you were a secretary, admin, more secretary to a CEO. Somebody wanted to give in-person dictation. Okay. She maintained that skill. She kept it going because she knew there were some CEOs out there who didn't want to talk into a dictaphone, who didn't want somebody doing longhand or whatever. And so she maintained it, and she made a career for herself going from top CEOs to top CEOs. And that was her skill. She lived very well, but she created it because she had a skill that she knew was valuable, and she would present it to people. And she worked all the time. And I would get calls frequently as a headhunter going, I need somebody who can do Grigg or Pittman shorthand. Can't find them. Genevieve, I would call and she goes, I'm sorry, Michael, I'm booked. I got a good job.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is you can create this. You can say, this is what I'm really good at. Michael Feeley, am I good at customer service? Oh my God, yes, I'm really good. Somebody comes to me with a problem, I will go above and beyond to solve it. They go, thanks for solving it. And I go, I'm not done yet. We got a couple more steps here to finish. But that's what I'm talking about. How can you reinvent yourself at a certain time in your life? How can you use the skills that you have at 50, 60, 70 years old to keep going? And maybe it's answering telephones. Maybe it's only working part-time for you. There are people out there who are looking for somebody who is a seasoned professional who knows how to deal with people and only wants to do it from like 8 to 12 or something, or 8 to 2. That's it. There's something out there for you. And if you use your skills and you figure out, what is it that this company needs? What are they going after that I can help them with right now? And, people are losing jobs. They're being told, you're too old, I'm going to retire you, you're making too much money. So I'm going to bring in somebody younger who's a lot gung-ho.
Yeah.
So where does that leave you? Okay, first thing you do, sit down and say, what do I want to do? What am I good at? Call all your friends. Say, I was let go today. I'm not done yet. Where else somebody will say, oh, there's someone who can really help you. I know I can introduce you to somebody who can use your skills, who will go around here and say, I can use Michael Feeley. He can answer the phone for me. I have somebody who can, I don't know, sit down and talk to a young person about what is it to be organized? What does it mean to be detail-oriented? What does it mean to show up every day committed to the job and then some? So I hope that answers your question about reinventing yourself and just using the skills that you have and not being nervous over it.
Is there anything else you feel like we might have left out of the conversation? Any nuggets of wisdom you'd like to end with before our last question?
Yeah, there are. There's a couple of things. I want to encourage people to go after what they want and to ask for it. I want you to be so confident about knowing what you want that you feel professionally, with dignity and respect, that you have a right to ask for what you want.
Okay.
And not sit around and wait for somebody to say, okay, Michael, I can see this. You deserve a promotion. No, I want you to feel like, hi, you're not promoting me. And if you're not going to be, I'm going to go find another job somewhere else. Thank you very much. Be confident to be able to ask for what you want. When I was an actor, I wanted to be an actor so badly. There was a big audition for this great role in this Broadway touring company. And I said to my agent, get me in. He said, no, they're not seeing non-union people. I said, forget that. So I went over and I sat there from 8:30 in the morning till 4:30. I didn't even go out to lunch. I was determined they were going to see me. The director came out and he said, okay, the musical's been cast. And I stood up in front of everybody and said, no, give me a chance. When you hear me sing, you're going to give me the job. And he said, okay, come on in. I was asking for what I want. And I sang and he gave me the part. My backup was, if I didn't get it, I was going to say, put me in the chorus. I'll do anything you want. And then I was going to say, make me the understudy for everybody else. I'll learn everybody's parts and I'll follow you around and I'll go on. I was determined. I had A, B, C, D plan. And that's what I'm encouraging people to feel. Ask for what you want. Know why you want it. Do it with respect. And the other thing is, it means creating an opportunity. Something comes your way and you go, I'm perfect for that job. How am I going to get in there? How am I going to reach Nadine to get my resume to her to say, you've got to hire me. Just talk to me for 10 minutes, That's what I want to say most. Do not be afraid of your narrow self, of the inner bully that says, no, don't ask for it. Just walk out the door. They said no. They said no. What about plan B, baby? Let's go to plan B. Those are the two things that I feel, and it's in my book, I feel it's really essential that we can do it with dignity and self-respect. Ask for what you want.
Beautiful, Michael. What is your personal definition of what it means to be healthy?
Oh, gosh, what a beautiful question. I think it's about self-respect. I think it's you feeling, I respect myself where I am right now in terms of my mind, my body, and my spirit. It may not be perfect, but I respect myself for the health that I have at this time. Maybe I have questions, but I'm going to take care of it. Self-respect, having kindness and self-respect for yourself. That's what it means to be healthy.
Thank you so much for being here, Michael. I am so honored that you and I connected for this episode and that I get to talk about your book in a really meaningful way and to help others with it. I mean, thank you for writing it. Thank you for persisting. And thank you for being you.
Oh, Nadine, thank you. This was really wonderful. I'm excited. You asked some really great questions and, I have a lot more to say, but I thank you for giving me the opportunity to encourage other people too who will hear this. You're not done yet, no matter what your age is. Sorry, you can keep going.
Wise women, move from last place to first place in your life. Stop using your body as a battlefield. Let's raise health together with a customized health plan just for you. Contact me at npkhealthintegration.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.